What is happening out there, gang? Got to turn microphones on. These are important things. Didn't turn it on while I was scrambling here trying to get everything up and running, but should have turned it on to start the show. But what's going on, guys? Matthew Patterson needs Santa to help him hit a 6-team parlay. Love it. That would be a solid little Christmas present, I suspect. I love getting carried away when I'm looking at parlay builds. It's like, wow, put one more in there. Woo. There's a good reason that they promote those parlays. That's what they want us betting on. Not the biggest sports bettor in the world. Every now and then I throw one in, but yeah, they want you chasing those parlays for sure. That's why that's all the promotion. That's why, you see when they lose, you see big tweets go out. Oh my God, they lost $1 million on this crazy parlay. This guy won, huge thing. They always want to be promoting those big wins because they make so much money from the people that don't win on those big parlays. But yeah, buddy, good luck with the 6-teamer. 6-teamer is not too crazy, or 6-way, not too crazy. It's not like one of those, 25-way ones that you see. Guy bet a nickel on a 25-way parlay and made $800,000 kind of a thing. Mamba's here. What's going on, Mamba? Beantown? Beach Bum? What's going on? Cujo's here. Cujo got in the door a little late today. What's up, Cuj? How you doing, buddy? I'm a loser till I win the milli. What's going on, pal? So we've got had everything set. I swear. We were going to start on time. We had all the sims run, all the data up and running. Soon as I clicked save on the file, I swear this is true, I clicked over to Twitter, and at that moment, Jason Tatum out hit. So I had to update the projections. I'm rerunning the DraftKings sim. It actually just finished. So I'm going to paste that in here. I haven't rerun the FanDuel sim yet. I needed to rerun the DraftKings sim no matter what because for whatever reason, a couple guys weren't projected for ownership on the place where I get the ownership from. So they didn't come through this sim. I want to make sure that they did in this new version. It looks like I think they did, so we should be good there. But I'm gonna keep an eye out for an ownership update. I may or may not rerun the FanDuel sim while we're talking. But let me just get DK back in here and put in place. So no Jason Tatum, no Al Horford tonight for Boston is going to be somewhat interesting. But they're very capable of just shifting guys a spot over and covering most of those positions. And then we'll get a few additional minutes for the down bench guys that we've seen a few times recently. The Kettas and Stevenses of the world. But really, there is still kind of just a concentration of minutes for the Celtics. So I don't know that it's one of these ones that's going to have and we'll see, I'm going to keep an eye out for what other places are doing with it as well. But, I don't know that it creates like runaway freight train value guy with those absences. We'll see. Let me just make sure everybody's coming up here. PJ, I got to fix. Nice. All right, good. All right. Good news is everybody who was not working before worked this time. So we're PJ here. All right. I updated the projections on the dashboard. So we're just behind by a FanDuel sim, which probably isn't crazy important. I think we're okay. Let me save this. Sorry to hear that. I'm a loser till I win the milli. So this is your escape. I like hearing that. Hopefully this is entertaining. Hopefully it'll be profitable for you at some point as well. So we'll get you a little, hopefully that helps out the life portion of what you said there. But yeah, love to have you here, pal, and glad you get a little escape from it anyway. Could be Trav. Yeah, O'Shea Brissett potentially getting some minutes as well. Trav's kicking it up in the crane as usual, he says. Love it. Mama thinks Kata looks good. Yeah, we shall see. Like I said, I kind of just handed out minutes in an even distribution. Let's see here. Yeah, see, these guys went broader than I did. The update across town finally got in. And they were doing this earlier today, too. They were kicking minutes down to, like, Banton and Svi. which, as I've said a bunch of times, I don't love giving guys just 2 minutes because I've got 2 minutes left over when technically a guy plays 35 and a half minutes a night or whatever. Like I try and give that guy the extra padding and then just not project a super low end guy. That's not to say that Benton and Svi couldn't get on the court tonight, but it looks like they did similar things as to what I did. Where Hauser picks up a handful of minutes from what his normal 21-22. And then a concentration of minutes around, the usual suspects of Jaylen Brown, Kristaps, Derek White, who had a monster yesterday. What a good game by him. Drew Holiday, Hauser, Pritchard, and then mid-teens minutes for Ketta and Stevens and Brissett. So the difference I think that I'm seeing right now is basically around a couple extra minutes that I'm giving Brissett that they're handing downstream. But I like where I'm at. So that's good news. So let me see in the win rate here for Boston. I just want to see how big that was. Yeah, it looks like it's all right. Oh, you know what I need to update is the... Actually, I can just delete Tatum. No, let me do this. All right. Real quick, I'm just going to update some columns. I know, by the way, that you guys can't see any of the spreadsheet now. That's intentional. Not that I need to hide anything from you guys. Obviously, it's just you don't need to. You can stare at my gorgeous mug while I'm doing all this in the background here. But this is, again, this one is for a change, not me being behind the scenes. This is thanks to the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. It's also a little bit messy. We haven't seen this with Tatum. He hasn't missed yet this year. Or at least not that I remember. And I did check. I took a quick glance at the game log, and it looked like he hadn't missed any. But if there was one on another tab or something that I missed, then maybe. All right, so we're good there. I'm going to put the dashboard on the screen here for you guys. There we go. Zip up all that stuff. All right. Resort by the win rate there. Hey, the only blank is a blank spot. Good. I think that's where Tatum used to be. So right now, just looking at it we're sorted by the DK side. Nobody came to life from Boston. Right? Nobody rocketed to the top of the board by a long shot from Boston. I don't see anybody here. Make sure I've got them. This is, wow. Wildly inconsequential win rates. That's weird. The FanDuel win rates are from before. Why would that be? Derek White is 7,800. I get that a little. KP at 82 with 5.42 not coming through. That's kind of weird. Yeah, so I mean, just talking about the minutes, you can see I just threw 16, 16, and 16 across Brissett, Stevens, and Ketta right now. I took Hauser up to 26. I've got Pritchard at 24. Just because, like I said at the top, this is a team, probably the best team for being able to just shift guys around, given the size and positioning and the guys that they've got here. So I don't know, if we get some kind of Lamar Stevens starting, expected to play 28 minutes, that will create a value guy. Right now, that's not the case, but I don't know that I believe this. That's curious. Yeah, Mom, 100%. Whoever starts better be in your lineup, right? Any one of these value guys that gets announced as a starter, be it Brissett, Stevens, Ketta, any of the above, absolutely plug in there. Hauser. Right? So right now, it's just kind of spread out. It'll get concentrated if we get any updates on what that'll look like. Right now at 443, we do not. Also, all right, no other news is broken. Herb Jones, questionable for Thursday. Yeah, he was questionable yesterday, too. How correct was I in saying that Herb Jones was going to completely screw us yesterday? Oh, God. I hope you guys got away from it. I had so much Herb Jones. It was not a good night for me yesterday. Had a couple chasers late. One really good-looking one that had Podziemski, and he ended up getting hurt like toward the end of the first half, didn't play the second half. It had Steph Curry, who ended up leaving in the third quarter with 5 fouls and not coming back until the start of the fourth quarter. And then it had Sam Hauser in it, who didn't play nearly the minutes that I expected him to, and when he was out there, didn't play well. So it was just really ugly at the end. I was disappointed. Like, that lineup looked like it had great trajectory toward the top, and Steph, eventually had an okay score, didn't really get there. And the other piece of it was Derek White, who just was completely going off and like the only guy pushing that lineup up the standings. But yeah, what could have been with that one? But just overall, between Herb Jones, Devin Vassell underperformed, had like a 21, I think, on the FanDuel scale. Not nearly where we wanted or needed him. And there was one other guy who like drastically underperformed. Everybody else did so well against the projections, outperformed the high projections that I had for him. Just so much correct. But those three guys specifically just tanked everything last night. I had so much of Herb Jones, Devin Vassell, and whoever the hell the third one was. All right, so I'm curious about this DK sim now, though. This came up weird. I might have to rerun this again. There were some weird things. Like I was saying, the reason I had to rerun it the first time was not necessarily the Tatum thing. It was because of the ownership that I use was a little screwy. Let me reload. Maybe they updated it. If they updated it, I'll rerun it again. If not, we'll talk around it. But those Boston numbers concern me because those guys are gonna like just Kristaps Porzingis in a vacuum at that price should probably have a better win rate than what he's showing there. And none of these guys are popular either. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no update. It makes it so difficult when I can't necessarily. I think everything else looks fine. So maybe it is just where those win rates are. I suspect that they would improve and probably will. But let's talk about the slate, and let's get into the known knowns and what we can trust here, and then we'll talk about Boston again if we get any news. So start with the injuries. All right, so Jason Tatum out. We've established that. Al Horford is also out for the Celtics. Probables today across the league. The important probables, Gordon Hayward, Aaron Gordon, both probable. An interesting one in Gabe Vincent, potentially is seems like he's going to be playing. Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, who's available. All those guys are on the probables, but Rui's available. Alex Caruso, Patty Williams, both also probable. Questionables, Miles Turner, Jalen Smith, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, Donovan Mitchell, who I believe popped onto the report during the day, which is potentially, could create a big opportunity there if he doesn't play, because they've also got Darius Garland out. So that's another one, big one to watch. Josh Hart was added to the injury report. He might not go. Jericho Sims, he was listed as questionable earlier, but then there was a report from Woj, and I haven't seen him officially changed on the injury report, but there was a report from Woj that he's expected to miss a week or two, so I wouldn't expect Jericho Sims, which will open up some stuff for the Knicks. Bogdan Bogdanovic, Tari Eason, Jayshawn Tate, Amen Thompson, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Paul George, Bones Highland, Norm Powell, and Malik Monk all also remain questionable. Out, Mark Williams, doubtful again. Andrew Nemhard, Jimmy Butler, an important missing piece in Miami. Kevin Love also out. Markelle Fultz out. Joe Ingles, Nick Batum, Jordan Clarkson, Keontae George, Omer Yurtseven, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Mitchell Robinson, Dennis Smith, Lonnie Walker, Zach LaVine, Torrey Craig, Josh Green, Kyrie Irving, Derek Lively. All those guys are out. That's the knowns. That's the known unknowns. The unknown unknowns are what's going to kill us on a 10-game slate on a Wednesday night. Some big contests tonight. Looks pretty good. Yeah, Jake, I don't dislike that thought. That's kind of exactly how I have it. Not giving Hauser over 30 minutes, but that's kind of exactly what I was thinking with the way that the minutes landed. That's why you saw Brissett. Sorry, just wanted to make sure that wasn't an NBA pop-up. That's why you saw Brissett, what's his face, and the other guy, Stevens and Keta, projected at 16 apiece, and then I have Hauser up at 26. You could make an argument, especially if he's announced as the starter, that there's a reason to give Hauser 30. But right now, I feel like being conservative with that is probably the right move. Low usage, low impact guy. That's also the case for Keta. Stevens, in small sample, a little bit more usage, but again, it's a guy, you're talking about a guy who's played 5 minutes a game over 9 games. So I don't necessarily buy into the usage number, and certainly if he got the start, I don't think he'd get 19% usage playing alongside KP, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White. But yeah, I do think that that's how they go, and that's what I was talking about with, like, they can adapt. If any piece of this is missing or any two pieces are missing, this team is able to adapt and just shift guys. So you still have that starting core of like 4 guys that are like star caliber players, and then just one guy takes a few extra minutes, a few other guys pick up additional minutes, rather than just boom, forklift a guy up, you're the starter, you're getting 33 like a lot of other teams have to. Yeah, Matthew, I gave Zinger and Jalen a little bit of a nudge. I didn't have time to specifically look into the the exact rates or anything. I just kind of threw him a couple extra points and got the per minute rate where I want it. After the show, when I do the update, and I'm going to try and get us out of here at conservatively like 5:30, probably more like 5:45, but I'm going to try not to go to 6 so that I have time to get a lot of updates, and I'm sure with a lot more to come. And I've also want to put time into my lineups tonight because I've got an entry in that nice FanDuel contest. But yeah, I gave Zinger a little bit, and I gave Brown a little bit, just as the two predominant guys. I think I also nudged Drew and White just by less than the other two, because I think it's a less of a direct impact on what they do. But again, I'll check it all out and get more realistic numbers in there. But let's dive in. Let me pull up Pinnacle real quick. We'll talk about the game environments because I'm sure that Celtics one changed. Top of the slate, Miami Heat, Orlando Magic battling for Florida. Magic favored by 5, 219.5 on the board there. Charlotte and Indy, high octane game there. Indy favored by 9.5. 247.5 on the board there. That's the highest total on the slate by 11 points. So obviously we're going to be seeing some pieces from Charlotte and Indy, which I think makes a ton of sense. T-Wolves, Sixers, 3.5 point spread, 226 total. Grindy kind of game, but some obvious star power on both sides. Some good role players on both sides. Tobias Harris was getting a decent projection again today. A couple other pieces. Utah and Cleveland, 227.5. Cleveland favored by 5. Knicks and the Nets. Battle for New York. 1 point spread. Knicks favored on the road in Brooklyn. 232.5 point total. Denver, Toronto, 229. Denver favored by 4 in Toronto. Seems like Denver should be favored by a little bit more than 4. I actually like that spot if you're a betting man. 224.5 between the Lakers and the Bulls. Lakers favored by 4. Actually like the Lakers there a little bit more than 4 as well. 233.5, 3.5 point spread between the Hawks and the Rockets. Rockets favored by 3.5 at home. 236. So the last 2 games, technically the last 3 games of the slate. Hawks Rockets at 233.5. Clippers Mavs at 236 with a lot of star power in that game. 2.5 point spread. And then the very last game of the slate, 2 hours later, or an hour and 40 minutes later, 3 point spread, 236.5 now between the Celtics and the Kings. So it's going to be some interesting late night stuff going on this slate. There's kind of a slog through the middle. We start out with that Charlotte Indy game, very high end. we drop through, those the Utah, Cleveland, the Knicks, Nets, and so on and so forth that'll have some pieces. But then we kick back up in terms of expectation in those last few games. So I think we're going to see a lot of front and back loaded lineups as far as our construction goes. Should have a decent amount of room for late swapping today, though. I expect a lot of shares will land in those late games. So looking at the board, I'm seeing some Indy. I'm seeing some surprising Knicks, some Brooklyn, some Cleveland, some Charlotte. Kind of a mix. Let's just go. All right, these guys, they came through. I just wanted to make sure that these guys also didn't come through at like ridiculously low win rates. So the fairly priced guys are all hitting the board, and then the stars are, grabbing a little bit, which is how we typically see these things. So that makes sense. Starting with Tyrese Haliburton, who's down here, a 0.33% win rate on DraftKings, but it's a luxury item type guy, like we always talk about. That's your pay up guy. That's why you saved money by playing some cheapo guys, is so that you can get the raw scoring of Tyrese. He's obviously got a monster ceiling, 1.52 DraftKings points per minute on the season, 1.47 on FanDuel. So the 50-plus point projection in 30 minutes is very solid, puts him among the top overall raw projections on the board, and he's got one of the higher overall ceilings. So I have no issues with if you tell me, hey, I built a great lineup that had exactly 10-9 left and a point guard spot open on DraftKings or a guard spot, and I put Tyrese Haliburton in there even though he has a 0.33% win rate. No problems with it. Absolutely can get you there. Absolutely has high end. And those 0.33, I guarantee you, are going to be toward the top of, the times that he gets there, he's slate winning. At the top, the guys who are actually showing a little bit of win rate, Bruce Brown, 6,000 at small forward on FanDuel. Point guard and small forward, very valuable at 5,600 on DraftKings. 27.9% win rate. Just 3 and change on FanDuel. He's 6,000 small forward only over there. Probably just getting squeezed out by a lot of, like Buddy Hield, shooting guard, small forward. Gordon Hayward, same thing. So just the single position small forwards and shooting guards tend to get squeezed a lot. Brendan Miller directly below him at the same positioning for 200 less. That's probably where a lot of Bruce Brown's shares are going as well. 25%. He's projected for 3 more for 200 less. So obviously a lot going in that direction. On DraftKings, it's a little bit different. Miller's 6,500 shooting guard small forward versus point guard small forward. So that price difference is pushing shares in the direction of Bruce Brown. But both of them look very good. 18.9% win rate for Brandon Miller on the DraftKings slate. Buddy, 10.2. 14.4 on the FanDuel slate. 0.89 per minute player, 0.93 per minute. I think we've all probably had our very frustrating Buddy Hield nights, but he's a player who can get you there from time to time. 21 in 30 minutes the other night. That sounds like one of those frustrating Buddy Hield nights. I don't quite put him on the Herb Jones kind of list because he's definitely more of a quick trigger in terms of scoring. And is capable of some microwave minutes where you really get a big jump in points in a couple of minutes. So I don't take him to quite that level, but Buddy's on the list of guys that could potentially burn me tonight, for sure. Hayward's on that list too. Hayward's capable of a clunker, but he's a better per minute performer, more reliable player overall. 30-plus projection in 33 minutes at 6,800. He's a 0.95 per minute player on the season. We've got him right around a point per minute tonight. 0.95 on DraftKings. So 33 minutes, 33 points. Call it a point per minute on the nose, which I think is fair in a game with a potential uptick. Got this one at Indy picking up possession and change, and on the Charlotte side, given Indy's pace, they pick up about 5 and change possessions. So should be a significant uptick for most of these Charlotte guys. Terry Rozier, 1.5 on a win rate on FanDuel at 96, at 89, both guard spots, 4.5. Nick Richards, 10.9, much more valuable on FanDuel, 4.2, about half the win rate on the DraftKings slate. Center only, 6,100 on both sites gives them just price based, gives them a little bit more value on the FanDuel slate. Presumably no Mark Williams again. I'm not projecting him. He's doubtful. So should just be Nick Richards getting the minutes he's gotten recently. In 32 minutes the other night, put up 26.5 FanDuel points. He's been a point per minute player on the season in 21 minutes a night, 19 games. Neesmith, playable, not shining through with great numbers, but definitely playable. Miles Turner, kind of surprised he's not a little higher end here. Might see an uptick in a resim. But, another guy who's not a luxury item in terms of the price. He's maybe a little bit, not expensive, but probably like correctly priced for what he projects for what his typical production is. So you're not getting a great bargain on him, but he's absolutely a player who can, kind of along the Joe Val ilk, where he can go out and just put up a monster score from time to time. So I never really have issues getting to Miles Turner. As long as he's showing a little bit of win rate, I think you're fine having him in some lineups. If he's like, call it 0.5, 1% owned or whatever, and you're seeing a 1.83% win rate, he'll probably be more popular than that. Let's see, what is he? Nope. Wow. Actually nailed that. He's sub 1% owned in this ownership projection. And just on the idea of getting to this game with anybody who is low owned, so Brown's getting ownership, Richards, Miller, Hayward. This is the DK ownership I'm looking at. So yeah, the guys at the top of the board here are getting the bulk of the ownership. It's kind of in line and just kind of commensurate with these win rates. But even at a 0.7 win rate, I do think there's room to get over the field's sub 1% ownership projection on a guy like Miles Turner in a game environment like this. Just on the expectation of a ton of scoring, or on the expectation of Charlotte trying to keep up with Indy and missing a ton of shots, and Miles Turner just gobbling up a bunch of rebounds. There's opportunity there for him. Obi Toppin, mid-range option, not really showing much value at all. Probably going to come in right around his median projection. On the right night, gives you a point per minute. He's usually sub point per minute value. And where he's priced right now, just not really helping him out any. Tyrese talked about Miles Bridges showing a little bit on FanDuel, not at all really on DraftKings. Solid projection on just pure projection, plug and play type of a guy. I think you just typically expect him again around his median. He's about a point per minute, 0.98 on DraftKings, 0.96 on FanDuel. Has the ability to put up a bigger game than that, and a talented player. As long as the game's not in Canada, he's typically fine. And then just low end win rates. Nobody said anything remotely close to your name, Alexa. I said and then, and it went boom. I think they've loosened because my TV's activating that thing more often than not. That's a good point, Den. Dennis points out Turner with a Q tag might be keeping the ownership projection down. That is a fair point. I hadn't remembered that. It's so difficult. That's where either being the analyst or being the host on like a two-man show is so much easier, because like typically I was always the analyst, and Emac or whoever, or Greg or Eric or whoever would be the host. And like the host is responsible for remembering the context and like, all right, Miles Turner's questionable. Do you think that's going to, what do you think that makes him look like as far as his low ownership projection? And that's like, boom, I've got the context. I can just talk. It's so difficult to remember the context when there are 20 teams and it's the NBA and it's just complete chaos. So thank you for that, buddy. You guys want to keep going team by team? We never do it this way. It'll probably take us way too long. Yeah, let's not do that. I wanted to look at this game specifically. I meant game by game, not team by team. Yeah, I think that'll take too long. Not that we don't already take too long. Let me just do the positions as usual. Maybe one of these shows where we're not starting late and dealing with chaos, we'll do like a game by game that way. Because I do think it kind of works, but I think it's more important probably to look at these guys side by side. Like, really interestingly, the top three on DraftKings, Dennis Schroeder, Bruce Brown, Emmanuel Quickley, showing like nothing on FanDuel. 67 versus 62, point guard only for Schroeder. Makes a lot of sense. 5.19 points per dollar versus 4.68. Bruce Brown. Again, that one I am curious about. 6,000. Small forward. Like I said, there's reason to believe that those shares are going elsewhere, but it does look a little bit low. Just for that option. I'm going to take a quick look at what his ownership looks like. And then Emmanuel quickly. This one I buy. 5,500 shooting guard, point guard, 5,200 point guard, shooting guard. Just on the points per dollar sense on DraftKings, 4.37. A lot better than 3.99. It's not great, but he's getting there on positioning and value. You might see a little bit of an uptick for quickly if Hart doesn't play. Maybe he goes 23 to 26, 28, something like that. But there's also the Quentin Grimeses, the DiVincenzo's, and so on and so forth of the world to consider in that spot. And quickly, good a bench scorer as he is, not Tibbs' favorite guy in terms of how they run things. He gets his minutes. He gets his opportunity to score. But if Tibbs had all things equal on the offensive end, I think he prefers Grimes in his defense. I think he prefers DiVincenzo in his just grindiness. So Bruce Brown is owned, in this projection anyway, on FanDuel, about double this win rate, which is interesting. That's one to watch, especially if it goes up. Because I think we've got him pretty nailed as far as the projection goes. Let me see. He was a 0.89 last year. I've got him right on his yearly projection. I guess I could give him another little bit just for the game environment. But they're not picking up a ton. They're going to be around their normal pace. I feel like it would be a little artificial to just throw points at him. This is Bruce Brown I'm talking about. Maybe I give him a little bit, but it would be a matter of like taking him from, the 25 point projection here to like 26. We're not talking about a monster jump. If I give him exactly a point, he goes to a 4.34 points per dollar. That difference might get you 2 additional points of win rate, maybe 3-4. So it would make it more even with where his ownership is. But Bruce Brown technically could be slightly over-owned on the FanDuel slate, which is interesting. At the 56, I totally buy it, especially with the point guard small forward positioning on DraftKings. Donovan Mitchell, if he plays, showing a tremendous amount of value. 10-2, got him at a great projection on the FanDuel slate, 30% win rate over there, 22.9% win rate for 10 grand on the DraftKings slate, 5.39 points per dollar on FanDuel, 5.16. He's a 1.28 per minute player on FanDuel, 1.31 on DraftKings. Plenty of opportunity for Donovan Mitchell to go out there and do Donovan Mitchell things with no Darius Garland, no Evan Mobley also in the front court. If he doesn't go, there is obviously a big downstream impact for Cleveland. I just kind of hope that he plays. Brandon Miller, I touched on before when we were talking about that game, but again, just looks like a very good spot on both sites, but primarily on FanDuel, 5,800, small forward only, 25% winner, 18.9 on DraftKings, shooting guard and small forward. Then Anthony Melton, 2.3% win rate on FanDuel, but 17.5 on DraftKings, 57 versus 62 price-wise, both guard spots. Caruso not showing much on FanDuel, but giving you a little on DraftKings as well. 51 shooting guard small forward over there. Better positioning. Colin Sexton, Paul George, both 10% winners on FanDuel. A little bit better than that on DraftKings. 7-2 for Colin Sexton. 40.77 points per dollar. 1.09 point per minute player on the DraftKings slate. Both playable on FanDuel, but both look a little better on the DraftKings board. Paul George, I believe, first of the Clippers that we've mentioned so far. It's an interesting one. Again, that one is one of the 3 late night games, or later in the night games, 3 into the slate games. That one's potential to have some scoring back and forth. You see Dante Exum right here, 30% winner on the FanDuel slate.
11.4% on DraftKings. 6,100 still on FanDuel. Shooting guard, point guard. On DraftKings, they've got him up at 6'4". Still has that good point guard, small forward eligibility, but the price has gone up a little bit. It's knocked him down a peg. Still got him hanging around just under a 30-point projection. Right around a point per minute. It's right at what he's been on the season. Jamal Murray, 11% winner on DraftKings. A lot of different players. A lot of guys very different across sites today. 7,900 on point guard only on FanDuel. 7,200 on DraftKings. Point guard only for a 1.17. Take the name off the jersey. 1.17 points per minute for 7,200 at the point guard spot is pretty good to begin with. The fact that it's coming from Jamal Murray, a player with his kind of upside, his kind of regular usage, I love that spot. 11% winner. It's not it's not the top of the board. It's not 30, but it's not like we've got guys at the position that are in the 50s today. At least not yet. So Jamal Murray, one to keep in mind. I like that. On FanDuel, not at all. Sub 1% win rate for the higher price. You can play him, but he's not a successful option in most of our 50,000 sims. Buddy Hield, 14% winner I talked about, Buddy. But again, I'm coming more and more around to the idea that Buddy's going to just completely set my lineups on fire tonight in a bad way. Woo, that's a biggie. Kelly Oubre. Wasn't expecting that. 5,200. I guess that's our difference maker on FanDuel. Last time out, 24.2 minutes, 12.6 fantasy points. That's not good. 0.93 per minute on the season in his 15 games, playing 25 minutes a night. Giving him an uptick in minutes. They're missing whoever it was. Batum. So potential to play a few additional minutes. It's a 9.6% winner on the DraftKings slate for 5,900. Just the higher price is what's creating that difference. I kind of like him better on DraftKings, not in a like what he'll do successfully, in a how much I actually want to get to Kelly Oubre, because I don't necessarily really trust Kelly Oubre that much. So I just kind of wish I was playing it on DraftKings, where he's a playable piece, showing a decent little win rate, could definitely get you there, but not looking like a guy who has to be in a ton of lineups. On FanDuel, he's looking like a guy who has to be in a ton of lineups right now, which I don't love. What's his ownership looking like over there? Well, the good news is that ownership, that win rate is outpacing the projected ownership by a solid mid-teens number of points. So we are showing him as a very good play, as uncomfortable as it might be to get Kelly Oubre at that level. Do I want him in half my lineups? If he's showing me a win rate, a 50% win rate across 50,000 sims, and he's going to be owned a significant chunk lower than that, that does make him a good play. Half my lineups might be a little strong. This is why I was wishing. This is hopefully it's coming through why I wish I was playing on DraftKings at this point. But yeah, looks like it's Kelly Oubre night for me. Jalen Green, 15.4% on FanDuel, a little better than over on DraftKings, 9.3, but still playable. A lot of very playable single-digit types on the DK slate coming down through here. It's pretty spread out for a big slate. But all these guys, all of the Dinwiddies, Jalen Green, Josh Richardson, Malik Monk if he plays, Freddie Van Vliet, Norm Powell, Jalen Brunson, Max Strus. Strus, another guy, if Mitchell doesn't go, I would expect a little bit of an uptick for him. Not necessarily minutes. I've already got him at 34, maybe climbs to like 36. But it just it'll push his usage even further, I would suspect. 32.3 already on the FanDuel slate, just 5.6 on DraftKings. Who are some other differentiated guys? Malik Monk, 20% on FanDuel, 7% on DraftKings. Freddie VV, 16.9 on FanDuel, 7.5 on DraftKings. Jalen, 11.2 on FanDuel, 6.7 on DraftKings. Conley, 21.6 on FanDuel, 4.7 on DraftKings. Conley, 0.88 per minute on FanDuel on the season. Another guy, point guard, so he's got his hands on the ball a lot. Does plenty to support the not crazy high, 27-point projection, roughly in the neighborhood of his current year production. I just always, given my druthers, as somebody would say in like 1835, and I think I've said that twice already today. But I tend to prefer to not get sucked into too many very low usage types, even at the point guard spot. But Conley has plenty in the tank to get you there. Like it's not a high price for him. 56. You're getting a great win rate. There's potential there. Harden, another piece of the clips, 7% winner on FanDuel, a little bit less at 8,800 now on the DraftKings slate, 9,000 on FanDuel. Pricing's gone up a little bit on James. Had a good game the other day. What do you had, 6 threes in that one? Rozier, Karis LeVert. LeVert will take an uptick if Donovan doesn't play. DiVincenzo probably gets an uptick if Hart doesn't play. Right now, they're just, also rans on FanDuel. A little bit better than that on DraftKings. Playable parts on DraftKings, but non-priorities. Darren Fox, just 1.7% winner on FanDuel, 3% winner on DraftKings. But just as a piece of that Boston-Sacramento game at the end of the night, and a very high-powered piece at that, I will take my Darren Fox shares and would hope to be above the field on him. Let's see. Previous ownership projections. These are not updated since that Tatum news. But he wasn't highly projected as far as ownership goes, so I don't know how big an impact it has since we're, again, not really creating a crazy value guy right now. Fox very low owned. This whole game, for a game with that kind of environment on a slate like this, it's actually pretty surprising how low owned all these guys are. Maybe it goes up. Let's see where... More popularity on FanDuel, but not for him. Low single-digit ownership projected for Darren Fox. If you want to take into account, the quality of these ownership projections, maybe you call it mid single digits, but they're not typically rung by that big a percentage. I kind of like that, even with his low win rate. Again, just as a raw scoring, super high ceiling type. 1.35 FanDuel points per minute on the season, 1.39 DraftKings points, 56 FanDuel points in 33 minutes the other night. Easy 60-point upside. I don't dislike getting a couple additional shares. Like his ownership projections are right around these win rates. So I think that's one you could grab a few additional shares. It's not very difficult to double a 1 and change ownership projection or triple it. Timmy Hardaway, a little bit of value on FanDuel at 56. Shooting guard, small forward, 13.7% winner. Just 1.5 on DraftKings. I looked down the line and I was like, and Tim Hardaway is priced at 12.2 on DraftKings, but that's his teammate Luka Doncic. Luka's a luxury item on both sites, 1.7% winner on FanDuel, 1.3 on DraftKings. He's carrying a nearly 65-point projection on DraftKings, 61 and change on FanDuel. Obviously, he's a monster, 1.58 per minute on the season on the blue site, 1.65 on DraftKings. Beantown still uses druthers. Love it. D, what's going on? Yo, Big D, right back at you. Oh, that came out weird. If Mitchell's out, am I giving minutes to Porter or Merrill? I honestly haven't really thought it through yet. I can take a quick look. What's Mitchell's issues? He just sick? Let me reload the news. Wendell Carter starting. Rocco. Robert Covington out. So we'll update that. All right. So Covington out is the only change. Wendell Carter starting. But that's not crazy news. All right. So let me... It's funny, I've read the injury report like 6 times today, and I don't remember what's wrong with Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell. Yeah, he's just sick. So, I want to give him credit for, I think Donovan Mitchell's going to play, and I do think he's going to play. Yeah, Matthew Patterson saying Mitchell will probably go. Just that type of dude. But, you don't want to speculate on that too much. So, if we pull up Cleveland. So Merrill probably takes more of the minutes, I would suspect. Let me see what they've done in their last recent games. Yeah, they both of them didn't play 2 and 3 games ago, or 3 and 4 games ago. Merrill went 24 the other night with Garland out. Porter played 9. I've already got Merrill getting more minutes. I think I continue that trend. Like right now, Merrill's at 12. Porter's at 10. It might be reason to think that I'm a little low on Merrill already, as is, honestly. But yeah, I think I would go heavier to Merrill, but they would both see an uptick. And then, like Levert would probably jump from the 28 that I've got him at to like 32. Maybe Dean Wade picks up a couple. Like I would sprinkle minutes around to, the guys that are already in the 20s. How many guys are projected in? I've got it as a 10-man right now. Nobody else has played any minutes recently outside of the 10 guys that I have projected right now. Yeah, so it's probably those two guys pick up, a split of, call it like 3/4 of the minutes get split between those two guys. And then the rest just get handed out across the other 8 guys that are currently or 7 guys that are currently in the rotation. What's up, Trey? Trey's on his way into class. Go learn stuff. Yes, exactly. Use the term gentleman loosely with this gang. Absolutely. Line is 4.5. Cleveland, and that screams Mitchell being out, you think? What was it earlier? Oh. You think it should be that much bigger than 4.5? I don't know. Bear in mind they already don't have Garland when they made that line. And they already didn't have Garland and Mobley when they made that line. It was 5 when I started. If it's 4.5 now, I don't know that that's necessarily Mitchell out. I think that might just be, they're a negative. I don't know that I updated this today. I don't think I updated it today, but I updated it yesterday. So call it accurate. So Cleveland a negative 0.1 net rating on the season, and Utah negative 8.2. And take away 2 key pieces from Cleveland. I think that's probably just accounting for the absences as we know them already. Jazz just blow. Absolutely. Negative 8.2 net rating. I don't talk about the ratings all that much, but every now and then they're a nice little shorthand. All right, so the guards, let's look for just a couple differentiated pieces, and then let's get on to forward, and then we got to get through centers and then talk about lineups, and we're already at 522. So there goes 530. Drew Holiday, differentiated piece on the FanDuel slate, 19.3% winner. Big piece from Boston. Definitely going to have some Drew Holiday in my lineups. Derek White as well, 22.9% on FanDuel. Again, I don't fully trust that the Celtics came through this sim correctly for whatever reason on the DraftKings slate. Just looks weird to me that they would be this low. So probably some better parts and pieces. I don't know that they push up as high as these win rates on FanDuel because, 6,500 versus 7,000 against the lower cap. You get flexibility for Drew on DraftKings. But I'm not saying it would be anywhere near this. I think if you're getting anything, it's probably should be like mid-single digits maybe. Derek White, same story, 71 point guard shooting guard on FanDuel, 78 same positioning on DraftKings. So maybe it is correct that it's this low. It's probably should be a little bit higher. And if I give them a little bit of additional flex and, stretched out the sim again, they might pick up a few points. But it doesn't look like they're crucial priorities, at least right now on DraftKings. DeJounte Murray just 3.3 on FanDuel, but that's triple the win rate on the DraftKings slate at 0.06. Nobody else really standing out. So the two Celtics guards are key different site-to-site differences. Hit the like button for me if you get a chance. Jumping over to forwards. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We're pushing 500. I don't know if we've got it yet. 500 by New Year's was the call. I forget who started it. So Bruce Brown again, top of the board on the DraftKings slate, 27.9. Derek Jones in that Clippers Dallas game, which is an interesting game to me. 5,300, 25% winner on FanDuel. 5,000 small forward only over on DraftKings. He's both forward spots on the FanDuel slate, 24% winner. Like him on both sites. Solid mid-range option, not overly high priced. Capable of doing this. 24 and a half minutes the other night, 13.7 FanDuel points. That's going to tank a lot of lineups. 0.81 FanDuel points per minute, 0.80 DraftKings points per minute. But just with, solid chunk of minutes, plenty of opportunity with that Dallas rotation missing pieces in a high-end game. I don't dislike that at all as just a mid-board type guy. Julius Randle, 20% winner on FanDuel, 23.8 on DraftKings, 87.88. It's a fairly priced Julius Randle. 1.17 FanDuel points per minute on the season, 1.23 DraftKings points. That's a mid-level game on this slate, but he's one of the higher end pieces from it. And for who he is, where he's priced, I don't dislike it. I'll have plenty of Julius at these numbers. Tari Eason was questionable. I believe I saw that he's gonna play. Not really relevant to the FanDuel slate, but at 61, both forward spots showing a lot of quality on DraftKings. 19.3. He's been a 1.14 per minute player so far this season. 4.86 points per dollar isn't ideal, but at the value at that price and the positioning, it's pushing him through enough. Miller we talked about already. Like the spot on both sites. Jabari Smith, a little bit on FanDuel, 11% winner. 6,400 power forward only. 6,100 power forward, 18.6% winner on the DraftKings slate. Like him better over there. But a playable part for sure on both sites. 0.93 per minute on FanDuel, 0.95 on DraftKings. Not a bad option. Caruso is probable, assuming he plays, just a 2% winner on FanDuel, but a more important piece. Shooting guard and small forward gives him value on DraftKings that he doesn't necessarily have on FanDuel. A little bit better price against the lower cap, but I think it's more the positioning that's really helping him out here. Kawhi, 7.3% winner, 15% winner. I believe that was the best we've seen from the three Clippers stars. It's Kawhi on DraftKings again. But any one of the three, totally fine. Any two of the three, probably okay. Three of the three, I don't love. Maybe, two of them and one of the value guys, if it comes up that way, is probably okay. Two of them in a Dallas piece like Luka, obviously, or Timmy or Derek Jones, perfectly viable. So I think there are constructions to be found in that grabbing one or two of the Clippers stars and some pieces from the other side, and not necessarily, I never like referring to it as game stacking because that's not what we do in basketball necessarily. But when there are key pieces that find their way into lineups together with frequency, you don't go out of your way to do that. But if they come up that way, I think it's very playable. And to stretch that example, there's Paul George sitting right there, 10% winner on FanDuel, 11.9 on DraftKings. So yeah, Kawhi on DraftKings was the best of the 6 spots, 15% win rate. But all three guys perfectly playable across both sides. RJ Barrett, Not the greatest season from RJ so far. 0.95 points per minute on the season on FanDuel, 0.99 on DraftKings, 12% winner over there, just 3 and change on FanDuel, 6,200 at a small forward only on FanDuel. Both forward spots gives them a little bit of additional value on DraftKings. But I don't know. Hasn't been RJ's year so far. Kind of disappointed. Was expecting some more growth. Last year he was at, well, actually, points per minute wise, he's actually gone up. 0.88 last year. I thought he was better than that last year. 0.95 this year. So in a points per minute sense, I guess he's gone up. Matthew Patterson thinks it'll be Porter. Underdog is saying if Mitchell misses, Porter will start. Okay. I will take that note and we'll run with it. So that'll make him, if that becomes the scenario, that will definitely make him. Hey, 503. All right. Huzzah! Fireworks, explosions, presents for everyone. If you look under your seat right now, you will find the keys to a new car. And Matthew Patterson gets a car, and Cujo Blue gets a car. Is that joke too old? An Oprah joke from like 30 years ago? I think it gets referenced enough still. It's in the pop culture lexicon. DeMar DeRozan, always a reasonably playable guy. He's like a mid-range jumper. He's like what he likes to do on the basketball court. Not the best shot in the world. Not a frequent winner. But if a guy like that can make him go in from time to time like he does, he's got some value. 8,100 on FanDuel, 15.9% winner. Same price on DraftKings. Both forward spots over there, 11.5% winner. Dante Exum, talked about already, but again, basically twice the win rate, 3 times the win rate on FanDuel as on DraftKings. Both guard spots for 61. Still a good piece. 64, price being up. Knocks him down a peg on DraftKings, but definitely still playable. Slow-mo, Dillon Brooks. 2 of my least favorite options in DFS right next to each other. Not really showing much on FanDuel. 6% winner for Dillon Brooks makes him playable. Slow-mo not really showing much at all on the FanDuel slate for 5,100, both forward spots. He's the better of the two in a per minute sense, 0.90 versus 0.69 for Dillon Brooks so far this season. On DraftKings, they're a lot more important, it looks like. 4,800 and 5,400, both 11% winners, 0.86, 0.72 per minute. You guys on DraftKings can have them both. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, couple pieces from the Nets going up against the Knicks. Mid-range win rates for both those guys on both sites. I expect to see shares of both of them. Non-priorities, but decent mid-range options. Buddy, we talked about. Kelly Oubre, we talked about. Unfortunately, Paolo Banchero, 12.5 on FanDuel. Sub 10, but still looking pretty decent at 8,000 on the DraftKings slate. 8,100 on FanDuel. Both forward spots on FanDuel. A little bit better flexibility. Hayward, in that high-octane Charlotte, Indiana game that we definitely want to have some pieces of. 15% winner on FanDuel, 7.5% at both forward spots on DraftKings. Different positioning across sites. He's got shooting guard eligibility on the blue side. LeBron, 10% winner on FanDuel, about half that on DraftKings, 10.3 on DraftKings, 10.5 on FanDuel, 1.42 per minute on FanDuel, 1.45. He's LeBron James. You can always play LeBron James. LeVert, Okoro, potentially a little bit of an uptick for each of these guys if no Donovan Mitchell. DiVincenzo, probably only if Hart doesn't go, he'll see a few additional minutes. Maybe finds a little bit of value on FanDuel. He's already got a little bit on DraftKings at 5,000. I'd prefer the DiVincenzo that plays that has a 26, 28 minute projection than the one at 22.5 though. Miles Turner is available tonight. So now we're back to I like that Miles Turner option. Watch where his ownership goes. If it skyrockets, I don't think it will. But if it does, then you can back off. But for right now, I with him being very low owned, the star caliber players in that high octane game are all pretty low owned, which is interesting. It's mostly the mids, the value guys that are picking up ownership. Quentin Grimes, again, another guy, unless there's an expectation of jumping back into the starting lineup because Hart isn't playing, and not because Hart isn't playing, but jumping back into the starting lineup or just picking up additional minutes because Hart isn't playing, would see some value. Nesmith, 1.8% on FanDuel, 1.1 on DraftKings, not much. Franz Wagner, another piece from the Orlando side, a little bit of value there. Got to double check what I did with the minutes there for Orlando since Wendell Carter's starting. I forget how I had him. Jericho Sims, like I said, don't expect that he's going to be there. So that's another piece of minutes that could get spread around for the Knicks. They don't have a lot of big bodies. So I got to take a look at that one as well. Oh, they do have Taj. That's right. They signed Taj Gibson. So we might see Taj minutes tonight if Jericho Sims doesn't go. Taj is priced at 37 on FanDuel. And he's the dead min 3,000 on DraftKings. That could get interesting. Check where things are on 534. Gonna try and get us out of here in 10 minutes. But right now, I want to see if mid-price Taj Gibson's picking up anything anywhere. Not much. That's interesting. When last we saw him, Taj was at a 0.79 last year. He's played 7.5 minutes so far this season. So, yeah, thinking that through, probably, I don't know if he directly is going to get all 18 of those minutes in the projection update, but he'll get a chunk. I just don't know if it necessarily pushes him to even at the 3,000 to value on DraftKings. We would probably, if I gave him minutes and then reran it, we would probably see him since he's the min price. Oh, jeez, he's not even in my rotation block yet. That's funny. All right, that'll be updated after the show. Even at 3,000, if I reran it, you might see him find a couple of those. You know, he maybe lands at like 5% because he's dead minimum priced. But I don't think that we would get him at like crazy win rates, even at min price. I wouldn't sweat the Taj Gibson option. Unless for some reason they said he's starting. I think Hartenstein gets the start. Like Tibbs likes Hartenstein coming off the bench in the second unit and everything, but I have to suspect that he gets the start and Taj is the backup. Right? Am I crazy? Matthew Patterson loves Randall tonight. Yeah, that's also a good reason to love Randall. KP, 7% winner on FanDuel. Again, I don't fully trust that came through correctly. Probably, especially at 5.42 points per dollar for KP. This probably should be higher. Probably should be around this level. And it's not like he's super cheap. But, you know, call it mid-single digits. Probably is correct. Cat, Bridges, Tobias, all showing a little bit of value on FanDuel, not nearly as much on DraftKings. Just similarly priced or a lot cheaper, like Tobias, 6,100, still a very good price for him on FanDuel. 6,900 on the DraftKings slate, crushes his value. 78 for Miles Bridges versus 85, big difference. And then Cat, just 89 versus 88, and power forward eligible on FanDuel. Downboards, couple 3%ers. Jaime Jaquez at 6.3, Michael Porter at 3.5, Pascal Siakam at 3 versus like nothing on DraftKings. None of those guys is really worth digging too deep into. I'm gonna give a Kez actually. Now that I just said nobody, none of those guys are all that worth digging into. Yeah, I got him at full. 32 minutes. Just wasn't really getting there. 57. Wow, he's 7,100 on DraftKings? Holy shit. No wonder he wasn't coming up. Jaime Jaquez might be the biggest price difference site to site on the entire slate. 57 on FanDuel small forward only versus 71 small forward, power forward only. That's why he was showing. I'll go back to it. He was all the way down at the bottom. But that's why he was showing a 6% win rate on FanDuel. Just 0.02 on DraftKings. That's a monster price difference. Just given pieces missing in Miami. Good expectation of minutes and production. Again, Julius Randle, top of the board. 23.8% winner at the center spot on the DraftKings slate. Also has power forward eligibility. 20.3% power forward only on the FanDuel slate. Holding value over there despite the lack of multi-position. Nick Claxton going up against him on the other side. A 22% winner on DraftKings at 6,200. 1,000 more on FanDuel. Not showing much value at all on center only on the single center site. Jarrett Allen soaking up a ton of big man value on FanDuel, 38.2 center and power forward. Center only, 16% winner at 7,000 on DraftKings. Still has a lot of value there, but you got to love Jarrett Allen's opportunity on the FanDuel slate at the cheap price and multi-position eligibility. 13% at 4,100 for a not overly highly projected Jonathan Isaac. 1.27 per minute on the season in 13.7 minutes a game, 18 games. Puts him right around this level a lot of the time, though. It's one to not be crazy excited about, I don't think. 12.2% winner at 4,400 power forward. Has center eligibility on the DraftKings slate. That's why we're talking about him now. Small forward and power forward on the FanDuel slate. Andre Drummond at 43, showing you a little bit on DraftKings, not at all on FanDuel. Same for Daniel Theis at 38, 8.4% winner. Same for Dwight Powell at 44, 8.4% winner. Powell picks up a monster on FanDuel, though. Holy hell. 57.4% win rate. Just want to take a look at his most recent ownership projection because, jeez. All right, we're outpacing the very high ownership projection on Dwight Powell. This win rate is a solid, call it 15 points. It's actually higher than that, but call it 15 points higher than his projected win rate, or projected ownership, rather. So Dwight Powell at 3,800 looking like a pretty critical piece of the FanDuel slate. A couple uncomfortable 50+% winners on FanDuel today, but that's where all your value shares are going to come from on that site. A couple of easy bust pieces of chalk again on FanDuel. Clint Capella, like the option, 7.4% on FanDuel, 6.8% on DraftKings. Good game environment for him. I think he could succeed here. Nick Richards, 10.9 on FanDuel, just 4.2 on DraftKings. A couple guys through the middle here. Looks like center, by the way, is a very big value spot on the DraftKings slate. You do have Randall, but probably a lot of shares fall at the forward positioning. You'll get some shares of Jarrett Allen and Nick Claxton, if you want to call them like mid-range options. So that's 38% win rate between those two guys. And then basically everybody else is cheap. 7,100 for Clint Capella. Everybody around Clint is below 5. You get back to 6.2, 7.3 around Walker Kessler, Rudy Gobert, both in the 4s, sub 5% win rates. So a lot of value being extracted from the center spot. You do have two studs at center and Embiid and Jokic on both sites. A little bit more value on FanDuel at the center only. Looks like they're squeezing into top lineups a fair amount of the time. On DraftKings, very, very playable. Both guys, say it with me, luxury items. Pay up to get to them. No problem with getting to either player. Love them both. 1.84 per minute for Embiid, 1.76 for Jokic. On DraftKings, it's 1.85, 1.77. They are the two best players in fantasy basketball. Apologies to Mr. Doncic. Zubac, not much, 0.77, 2.7 on DraftKings. A little bit of value there. Wendell Carter, all right, so he is picking up at 28 minutes. Maybe he jumps to 30+ since he's getting officially getting the start, and I have to look at what they've done recently. I don't have it in my brain, but a 15% winner already, so maybe he picks up a little bit there. 2.5% on DraftKings at 5.4, 5,400 at center only. Downboard, 10-4. For Anthony Davis, power forward center, showing you a little bit, not quite as good as these two, but he costs less and has not equivalent upside, but approaches equivalent upside. Şengün, a lot more value on FanDuel, 12% winner, 5 points per dollar over there versus 4.8 points per dollar, 1.17% winner on the DraftKings slate. So a couple of the center-only options are standing out a little bit on FanDuel. Bam, also standing out a little at 9.1, 15.1 for Wendell Carter. 10-9 for Nick Richards. Of course, the two studs. This probably almost exclusively falls at the power forward spot, I would expect. Randall is only a power forward there. Jared Allen. So your power forward shares on FanDuel are probably going to be these three guys primarily. Maybe some Jonathan Isaac in that as well. So bonus, just 3% on FanDuel, 0.64 on DraftKings. So if you get him, you want him on FanDuel at 10.6 center and power forward. He's 9.9 on DraftKings though. It's a good, fair price for him anyway. Highly productive guy. I haven't gotten as much of him. It doesn't look like I'll get to him all that much tonight as compared to where I was at with him at the beginning of the season. Talked about Zinger already, but again, probably on DraftKings should be at around this kind of a win rate. I can't imagine he's actually down here. Something broke in his sim specifically. Nothing else really standing out site to site. Pascal Siakam again, Karl Anthony Towns, Kelly O not showing anything on either site. So nothing really from the bottom of the board to talk about. 544. Let's jump to the sims. Lone Wolf, what's going on, buddy? Lone Wolf doesn't even play NBA DFS. Just wanted to come in and show some love. Right back at you, pal. Appreciate it. So, on the DraftKings sim, some Walker Kessler's at the top of the board. Colin Sexton, some OG Anunoby who we didn't really talk about. Daniel Theis. That was a weird one. Surprised to see OG up there. I don't remember saying his name at all. He's a guy who comes up a lot for us, but he's just a 4% winner, a 4.6% winner on the DraftKings board at 63 shooting guard small forward. But it looks like when he got there a couple of times pretty solidly. Mitchell obviously watched the active, inactive. Colin Sexton is a reasonable value play. There's some shares of Kawhi through here as the top clipper. Mikal Bridges, who we talked about. Gordon Hayward from that mid tier that we talked about. Walker Kessler showing a fair amount. Nick Claxton at the top of the board. A lot of those, value to mid type guys at the pure center spot. And then I bet if we scroll over, we're going to see a lot of those guys at util. Yeah, a lot of Theis, some Capella, some Claxton, Hartenstein. There's a Jokic. There's a Doncic. A lot coming through in terms of value as well, coming through in the forward spot. Some Derek Jones, Harrison Barnes, I don't think we talked about. Tari Eason, I know we touched on. Exum. So it looks like you kind of have good options or value options at basically every spot tonight. Doesn't look like it's dipping too much into the extreme values yet. Mostly like the value guys coming from the mid to high 4s and 5 kind of range. The spendiest spot looks like I don't even know. Maybe shooting guard? Outside of like the OGs at the top, like Miller. It's like mid-price, fair mid with upside, mid. Then you get down to some Donovans down here, some Paul George. It really is pretty spread out. Like this one, at point guard, maybe it's point that gets more spend. Like the mids here, Melton, Sexton, Conley, Schroeder. But you got the Beverly share there. You've got some IQ in here. Interesting mix today. I guess big slate probably, leans that way. Small forward outside of this Kawhi share, maybe the Gordon and a little bit of Caruso. Looks like a pretty strong value spot at small forward. Hayward, Eason, Slow-Mo, Derek Jones, Paul George, Kawhi, sure. Caleb Houston dropping into some, Dylan Brooks dropping into some Levert. So probably, especially with the positional flex on Kawhi and Paul George, probably take value out of small forward. Looks like you returned back to some solid mids at power forward. Hayward, Bridges, Jabari Smith, who was showing a lot of value on both sites. Aaron Gordon, Hayward, RJ. Yeah, pretty fair mid-level guys there. Center we talked about, it's basically, mid value or mid value, back and forth between the center and the util spot in a lot of these. And then where it's not the center spot doing that, it's one of these forward spots. Yeah, these are more balanced looking than I was expecting. Again, I thought we'd get a little bit more Starsy Scrubsy. Maybe we need a better $3,000 type to emerge. Everybody selected. In that sim, the top win rate on DraftKings was just 28.8. We did not have a crazy value guy on the DraftKings slate. On FanDuel, we had a couple. On FanDuel, we had Dwight Powell and Kelly Oubre. 3,800 for Dwight Powell is a crazy value. He's 57.4% win rate right now. 8.4% at 4,400 on DraftKings. So that's where your values are on DraftKings today. It's just like in that force tier, unless something changes, which it probably will. And then that $3,000 guy will be immensely valuable. Maybe it's Taj Gibson. Yikes. Don't do that. Or if maybe keep an eye out. Oubre in the mid-range, like 52, 59 across site. But we'll see much more of Kelly Oubre and Dwight Powell in a minute on FanDuel. But yeah, DraftKings is, it makes sense, actually, now that I'm thinking it through, that it is coming up pretty balanced. Because again, your top, going by win rate across, let's call it the top like 25 guys. Let's call it the top 15. 25 would be too much. The top 15 guys, any position, range from 28.8% win rate to 15% win rate, 15.01, and have an average salary of $6,400 today. Usually we've got a solid $3,000 and change guy. The highest rated $4,000 guy, 4,000 on the nose. We don't have a highly rated sub 4 until we get down a few more spots to $3,100 Caleb Houston, who we are seeing in some of these lineups. Caleb Houston, to put it in perspective right now, is carrying a 13-minute projection with an 8.5 point fantasy point projection, landing in 12% of these optimal lineups at 3,100. So that's how crucial the value is on DraftKings today. So it is important to keep your eye out for a $3,000 player who might be better than that in terms of the projections. And then the other piece that was coming through was George Niang, coming up at a 21.6% win rate because he only costs $4,000. So he's showing more value than Caleb Houston. Not hitting these top lineups though, where Houston is sneaking into a couple down in the middle there. So value looks pretty tight on DraftKings today, so it makes sense that a lot of these are coming up balanced. Now that I see that, I'm actually surprised we're not seeing any Niang here. There he is. So Niang is just kind of low end. It takes a little while for him to come up. Caleb Houston being a little bit lower priced. I guess, these lineups, the other guys just carried Caleb Houston to success in that one. But yeah, a couple very low-end options in terms of your 4 on the nose or sub 4 value guys on DraftKings today. Oh, I forgot to do the... that top one, that's a stark difference. 0.3% win probability versus 0.18. Basically double the cash of any other lineup. So looking at that one again. Sexton, OG, Kawhi, Hayward, Kessler, Bruce Brown, Harrison Barnes, Daniel Theis. I guess. Highest projected lineup brings back 177 on the average. Highest projected in this pool was Schroeder, Melton, Niang, Jabari Smith, Embiid, Quickly, Derek Jones, Nick Claxton. I think I like that lineup a little bit better, which makes sense. It's higher projected, but the other one was more successful. Let's jump over to FanDuel. Gotta get out of here. I got projections to update, lineups to build. FanDuel, ignore any shares of Tatum that we see in here. Again, this wasn't rerun, but he wasn't all that important to the FanDuel slate. As usual, a lot better looking, more appealing kind of lineups on FanDuel. We do have more star power just on the fact that we've got all these Dwight Powell shares helping us to get there. Really nice looking lineups on FanDuel, honestly. Conley, Trae Young, Kelly Oubre, Max Strus, Brandon Miller, Kawhi Leonard, Dwight Powell, Julius Randle, Wendell Carter off the top. Kind of like that one. On FanDuel, it's just bringing you back $119 on the average, of course, versus the $400 average winner on the DraftKings slate with the much bigger prize pool. $40K up top to FanDuel today. 0.17% winner. That second lineup was also 0.17. Freddie VV, Trae, Max Strus, Kelly Oubre, Derek Jones, Akez, Julius Randle, Dwight Powell, Nick Richards. So Akez makes it into a couple of these up top. Max Strus also getting there and probably could potentially see climb a little bit further. Trae being in both of them is interesting. I like that. Dwight Powell is just an obvious value spot, and then Kelly Oubre is the other obvious value spot that we touched on there. Oubre not hitting it as hard as Powell. It doesn't look like he's there. He's over here. He's not getting there, but Powell's getting there more frequently into these very top lineups. I'm sure that would even out as we go. Powell in 72, Oubre in 64. So those are your foundational pieces on FanDuel, and then you can basically do, not necessarily whatever you want, but you can spend money at the point guard spot, which it looks like it primarily is. D'Lo and Luka, Schroeder and Mitchell again, Freddie VV and Trae, Mike Conley and Trae. So it's like one upper mid type guy and one star type. Conley Luka, Conley Drew, Freddie VV and Jalen. Good pairings there. Shooting guard looks a little bit more mid-range / value oriented. Oubre Strus, Strus Oubre, Oubre Hield, Exum Oubre. So I guess there was more Oubre than I realized in those top four lineups. He's in all four of them. Every now and then it's hard to jump columns and keep track of who's who. Jalen and Buddy. Paul George giving you this one. Malik Monk, Drew Holiday, Paul George, Derek White, Franz Wagner. All right, trails off down the back end. But it looks like more of the pairings at shooting guard are not value, but our highly rated Kelly Oubre, and then another like mid-range type like Timmy Hardaway, like Buddy Hield. Small forward looks like we've got a little bit of spend. Kawhi, Brandon Miller, Hayward Bridges. I would call it more mid types though. And then bounce up to Dwight Powell and whichever power forward you prefer. Dwight Powell and Randall in a lot of these. Dwight Powell and LeBron in a handful of these. Tobias, Jared Allen. Expect to have a lot of Jared Allen and Dwight Powell shares. And then Wendell Carter, Nick Richards, Wendell Carter, Şengün, Capella, Bam. A lot of the center-only guys kind of as expected coming through at the center spot. A lot of Wendell Carters, a lot of Capellas. We'll probably see more Porzingis fill in here once we get things fully updated. Good looking lineups on FanDuel again, as usual. Good looking doesn't do anything to win you the slate, but it makes you feel good going in. 304 point is our top projected. Donovan Mitchell, who may or may not go. Dante Exum, Buddy Hield, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, DDR, Jared Allen, Dwight Powell, Clint Capella. A lot of guys we talked about. Brings you back 52 on average. Not our highest winner, but not our lowest by a far stretch of the imagination. With that, guys, 5:57. I'm terrible at getting off on time. Line down to Cavs -4. Somebody knows info on Mitchell. Interesting. That's one to keep an eye on for sure. But let me jump off here. We got 15 people still hanging out. Everybody bails after the DraftKings board, so I appreciate you guys sticking around. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. We'll be back tomorrow. Usual routine, probably Thursday, basketball and foosball. I think there's a football game, is it? Right? Yeah. It's 1 on Thursday, 2 on Saturday, 10 on Sunday, and 1 or 3 on Monday, right? I think that's the breakdown. So tomorrow for sure, we'll have a show. After that, stay tuned. Holidays, I don't know what the schedule looks like yet. So good luck. Go win something. I will see you tomorrow.